Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz, a prominent member of the Freedom Caucus pushing Kevin McCarthy to play chicken with President Biden over the debt ceiling, just publicly admitted two things. One, Republicans consider Democrats their hostage, and two, Republicans have no interest in negotiating. Intrigued? Then click that like and subscribe and enjoy the video. All right, folks, I am sure that on some level you are tired of hearing about the debt ceiling, but we are, as at the time of this video, about 8 days away from the X date, which is when the United States Treasury says it will run out of money to pay America's bills, which will trigger the default that we've been talking about. We've never been in this situation before, so we don't have a crystal ball, but many reputable economists and financial firms are speculating that it could cost the American people 8 million jobs, $15 trillion in household wealth from 401ks and savings accounts. It would crater the stock market, mortgages would go through the roof, and this would affect red states and blue states, conservatives, progressives, and liberals, the apolitical, the rich, the poor, men, women, and children, gender fluid. It would affect everybody in the United States, okay? You also know the reason we're here because we've talked about it again and again and again. We are here exclusively, not primarily, not mostly, entirely because of Republican Party brinkmanship and bad faith, all right? The debt ceiling's been raised 80 times. The majority of those times have been under Republican administrations. It was raised at least 3 times under the Trump administration by the GOP enthusiastically without spending cuts. It was raised 18 times under President Reagan, a Republican, without spending cuts. This is nothing new. It's only ever when a Democrat is in office, then the rules suddenly change, and Republicans want to be able to use the debt ceiling as blackmail or extortion to demand concessions from Democrats that they couldn't otherwise get. It's bad faith, it's a twisting and breaking of norms, and actually, as a matter of fact, you could easily make the argument that it's established a norm of asymmetry and double standard. Republicans are apparently entitled to get whatever they want, Democrats have to make concessions, and the public, well, sometimes they punish Republicans for Republicans' misdeeds, and sometimes they punish Democrats for Republicans' misdeeds. It's an incredibly frustrating asymmetry. And just in case there are any of you who are watching who are conservative or moderates, and you're saying, well, listen, I still need more evidence that Republicans are acting in exclusively bad faith, that's okay, because the proof will never stop coming, especially as Republicans get bolder and bolder about saying things that 10 or 20 years ago they would have kept their mouths shut about. Case in point, Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz, a prominent member of the Freedom Caucus. Now, this is a major faction in the Republican Party. It's basically the far-right element of the Republican Party. They are Trump-aligned, Trump-supporting. You have Paul Gosar, Marjorie Taylor Greene, people like Matt Gaetz, people like Lauren Boebert. And Kevin McCarthy needs them. He needs them in order to maintain what he really wants, which is his job, the Speaker of the House. He cannot afford to lose the support of the Freedom Caucus. So what Matt Gaetz has to say, just like what Marjorie Taylor Greene has to say, is very important because Kevin McCarthy is beholden to them. Matt Gaetz in particular opposed Kevin McCarthy for like 14 of the 15 separate votes that he needed to become Speaker. That's how far Matt Gaetz is willing to draw things out. He was willing to make a public spectacle and publicly humiliate Kevin McCarthy. So Kevin McCarthy should heed what Matt Gaetz has to say, right or wrong. And this is an audio clip of Matt Gaetz speaking to a reporter, and he gives the game away. So let's listen to the clip, and then we'll unpack it.
So would you say that the conservatives like yourself are becoming more pessimistic about the state of negotiations if, there's a bipartisan deal in sight maybe? Or how would you characterize the mood among your conservative colleagues right now?
I think my conservative colleagues, for the most part, support limit, safe, grow, and they don't feel like we should negotiate with our hostage.
Right there, folks. Right there, he gives the game away. He refers to the Democratic Party as his hostage and says that Republicans feel like they don't have to negotiate with their hostage, the Democrats. This is not a good faith negotiation. And Kevin McCarthy, because he's the Speaker of the House and he has such a slim majority, he can't afford to lose them. So he is beholden to that bad faith brinkmanship ethic. I want to play a different clip here because it's relevant, but it's from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Matt Gaetz's colleague. She weighs in on some of this, but let's hear what she has to say.
Here, our reporting is that Republicans have essentially ruled out tax increases. They've also ruled out defense cuts. Are you comfortable with the Biden administration coming to an agreement if those are part of the terms?
I think one of the things that is indicated by the information that you just shared is that for all this talk about negotiations, Republicans are not negotiating at all. They, in fact, Republican Matt Gaetz expressed in a party meeting today that this is, in fact, a hostage situation. And I want to be clear about what the Republican Party is taking hostage. It is not Democrats. It is the entire U.S. economy. And for them to have this situation and try to use an unprecedented move of taking the entire U.S. economy hostage in order to secure cuts to veterans' health care, to Medicare, Medicaid potentially, or just threaten all of those services in the event of a default is unprecedented. It is extreme, and it is not acceptable.
Congresswoman Cortez is absolutely correct. And again, I think it was important to play these two clips back to back because she puts it out there very civilly as another member of Congress. Republicans are not negotiating in good faith. And this is nothing new. We saw under Newt Gingrich when President Clinton was in charge, and then we saw it accelerate again under Mitch McConnell during the Obama years, and now we're seeing it again further still under the Biden presidency. This is a new norm, the new norm being that Republicans feel like they can do whatever they want whenever they want, and the rules don't apply to them, and they can adopt whatever standards they want, and their voters reward them for it. There is no consequence, there's no negative consequence among the Republican voting base to Republicans acting in bad faith. Their hypocrisy is celebrated. We talked about when Donald Trump publicly admitted on CNN, of all places, that the reason that he said one thing when he was president, which is please don't use the debt ceiling as a negotiating wedge or means by which to extort, versus what he's saying now in 2023, which is encouraging Republicans to use the debt ceiling as a negotiating wedge. He was very blunt. He smiled when he said it, and he got applause for it. Well, the difference is I'm not president. This isn't principle. This isn't negotiation. And we also played a clip from Byron Donalds, another congressperson, a Republican congressperson, who's also celebrated Donald Trump's hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is their superpower. The shamelessness is their superpower. They are rewarded for it by their own members and very often by the voting base. And unfortunately, too often, the public, yes, sometimes correctly blames Republicans for Republican misdeeds, but all too often blames Democrats for Republican misdeeds. It's an asymmetry of expectation that you and I must work to break. This is factually 100% entirely, not 99%, not 89%, 100% the Republican Party's fault. It's their bad faith, it's their dishonesty, it's their hypocrisy, and that's why we should encourage Democrats, particularly President Biden, to stand firm, stand strong, and unyielding, and be eager to adopt unconventional means like the 14th Amendment or minting the $1 trillion coin, whatever it is, to crush Republicans politically in this.